What's up and welcome. I'm Aaron Fisher, and I'm here today with Adam, Alex, and Steve from Conjuror Community, the world's best magic club. Now, in today's video, you're going to get a taste of what a great magic club can offer you. So please do us a favor. If you like what you see, hit the like button and the subscribe button to this channel so you'll be notified every time we go live with a fresh video. So Adam, what are we getting into today?
Well, I'm going to defer to my best buddy over here, Mr. Alexander Slemmer, because he really kind of chose today and what today was going to be all about. And so, Alex, tell us, what are we doing today?
Well, first, I want to tell you all I'm a huge fan of Penn and Teller. And I want to tell you that there's a trick on there that I really, really love that was shown by Alexandra Duvivier. And we have coming up next the performance of her from Penn and Teller Fula show. And I think we should just leave it at that and watch it because I just think it's wonderful. If you haven't seen it before, I'm sure that this is going to fool you.
All right, here we go. Everybody see that?
Boom.
Yes, indeed.
Wow, I am so thrilled to be here among all of you tonight. What an experience. I'm so glad to be here. And especially because I have here two of my heroes just right in front of me. You can't imagine what it sits inside. Wow. Can I ask for your help, gentlemen? Would you join me on stage?
Oh, with pleasure.
Yes.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Je m'appelle Penn. Je suis American.
Really?
Yeah,
Are
oui.
you? Oh, I didn't even know you. Okay.
That's telling.
So glad to be here, and I am so thrilled. You know why? Because I had time on my hands, you know, backstage, and this way I have performed the trick for myself already. So this way we can save 5 minutes and we can chat about something else. Because well, let me tell you what I've done. I have taken my deck of cards. I've taken half of the card face up, half of the card face down, and I've shuffled those. And I hardly recognize myself because I shuffled like a crazy lady, you know, shuffle face up, face down. It was a mess. A mess, I'm telling you. And you won't believe me. But after I've snapped my fingers, let me show you, like this, and watch. All the cards came back in the same direction, except for 5 cards. The 5 cards of my prediction. Watch. 7 of clubs, sure spades, 2 of diamonds, yeah, right, jack of clubs, and queen of hearts. Thank you so very much.
Gotta love that overhead cam, don't you?
Right? Hello? I'm so
We need one of those at CC. Oh, wait, we have one.
happy.
It's so wacky. Just so y'all know, you know, when you think about preparation, the last time I saw Alexandra perform was her family owns a nightclub in Paris, and it's a little funky, like vampire nightclub from like the Anne Rice books, like in Paris. And so like I've seen her work in her milieu, and it's basically like a 30-person nightclub, right? So it's like she's doing that act in this gigantic space. It's fascinating to see.
We have saved 5 minutes. So guys, the question, did I fool you?
Well, I'm not going to call you a liar, so I guess if all this happened, we don't know how you did it.
Okay,
We'd
okay,
like
okay.
to see it ourselves.
Okay, you want to lose 5 minutes, I see. Okay, you're the boss. Let's do that. Okay, I give you that for later. Let's put that all in the same direction. So, like I've told you earlier, I've taken my deck of cards. I took half of the card face up, half of the card face down. Really face up, really face down. And it takes a while because, you know, I'm a professional and it's very precise, but I have shuffled cards, face up, face down. It's a terrible mess. And you know, when you're a cardician, you don't mix shufflings. And I also mix shuffling. Oh, it's okay, but you know, let's do it like this also. It's fun, isn't it? No, not fun, okay. Penn, can you help me out? Can you please shuffle? Be crazy, not too much because I know you are crazy. Okay. Oh, no, not too much. That's great. Taylor, may you do the same? Oh, great. He's crazy also. And so crazy, voila. Alors,
Yeah, it really is. It really
It seemed like an accident at first, right? Mm-hmm. Which is great because it's like the whole premise of the entire trick is based on an accident, which in the moment you think is like an accident, but it's actually the whole point, right?
you know what? You know, now, the French shopping bag. Ooh, beautiful. Okay, please, Pen, can you put both of your hands inside and check nothing inside? Of course, there is nothing inside, just for you to be sure. This card's a mess, okay? You know what? Let's put them aside. Shuffle cards, face up, face down.
That really is a bag.
And I would like you, Pen, to shuffle some more. Put both of your hands inside and shuffle.
What'd you say?
I said that really is a French shopping bag. That's true, you know.
Shuffle, not too much.
Oops.
I told you not too much.
It's okay. I ruined the trick. I'm okay.
It's okay.
We're okay.
It's fun, but not too much fun. Okay. So now, ooh, yeah, I know you're laughing. I am not laughing. Let's try, because I don't know if you knew that, but now cards are inside of the bag, and I can't see anything, like if I am blind, but I am not. And you know, in France, we love shuffling everything. I mean, it's a passion, it's a tradition there. You know bread? Do you know the 3 baguette Monty? Very famous in France, the 3 baguette Monty, right? We are so crazy, that's why you like us so much, don't you? Yeah, what an audience, you're great. Alors, I don't talk to you about fromage, because fromage is another story. But let's see something now. Like I told you earlier, I snapped my fingers. All the cards came back in the same direction, except for 5 cards. Watch out, watch out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let me show you that more precisely. All the cards came back in the same direction completely, except for 5 cards. Pen, can you read out loud those 5 cards, please?
7 of clubs, 3 of spades, 2 of diamonds, Jack of clubs, Queen of hearts.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let's, but we're watching a Fool Us, right, by Penn and Teller. So before we do Fool Us by Penn and Teller, first of all, how many of y'all on the panel have seen this before now?
I have.
Yeah, I have too.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
let's take ourselves back in time to the first time you saw it, and let's play Fool Us. Who's
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, it's definitely a fooler. Like you don't, unless you're like Richard Turner. I mean, there's no way to know what's going on in that bag, you would think.
it's a big bag, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same issue that you would have with almost an egg bag or something, because
You know what this is so great at is that like everybody's just flipping the cards around and everything. It's very free and just, you know, everyone's mixing. Hey, stick your hands in, you mix. I could see how you could do this around like a banquet table and get like everybody involved. You could give parts to people to shuffle and throw them back in the bag. I mean, you can really do a lot with it.
including, you know, as Greg just said, the bag is ordinary. The bag is ordinary, but one of the things that can happen in real life, like this was a TV thing, right?
Yeah.
So like trying to convey the idea that you would in real life, you might just toss the bag to the people. And while you're shuffling the card and doing a preamble, have anybody who wants get at the bag, you know, but in
The
this
bag
case,
is what's genius about it, though, right? Because this, I wasn't fooled when I saw it, but I recognized it when I saw it because, you know, you guys know I worked, you know, in the magic industry selling magic to magic stores for a lot of years. I worked for a magic distributor and I saw every magic idea that was coming to market for a good decade or so. And I saw this idea. This came across my desk and I thought it was wonderful, but it was never what this is. It was used for many different things, but not letting spectators shuffle in this way. And then the bag, the addition, what Dominique Duvivier created here, I think is a masterpiece. And that's what I thought when I saw it. When I saw it on TV, that's where I was with it. Was that this has been elevated to what it wanted to be when it was first put out. And
so
the idea of that,
you weren't fooled, but you were astonished.
I was astonished and I was so happy because I saw something become real magic that was just it was an interesting idea before, you know, it had interest. There's things you could do with that deck of cards, but to see it elevated to that, you know, that made it magic. And for me, it just tickled me because I just love seeing good magic. You know, it was like seeing a magic effect that Penn and Teller do. I think Penn and Teller are very good at taking ordinary things and making them extraordinary, you know, and I think that's what's happening here.
It's I'm torn, right? Because we want to talk a little bit about, we want to talk around the principle. We want to give a little perspective on it, but I'm wondering, and I'm literally wondering, you know, normally I might say, when I say I'm wondering if we should do this, like what I mean is we should do this. But I'm legitimately wondering whether we should listen to Penn and Teller talk about it before we talk about it.
We
Yeah.
should let Penn and Teller
Yeah.
talk about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, let them do it. They got lawyers.
Then we can talk about them too.
That's right.
Say, let's talk to Penn and Teller.
Parlons à Penn and Teller.
agree.
Parlons à Penn and Teller. So sweet.
I got to tell you, Alexandria, I get asked all the time, I have a son and a daughter, if my son's into magic, and the answer is my daughter is into magic. And I'm so glad she's here tonight to see you, to see how great the daughter of a magician can be. Because your dad, Dominique, was great, and it's wonderful to see a daughter of a magician here. And
Thank
it's
you.
wonderful to see women in magic. It's just
Yeah,
fabulous.
we have too few women in magic.
Many too few.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. We should mention that Alexandra has been doing magic professionally for at least 20 years at this point. So she
And Dominique's
certainly
still
not-
alive.
Dominique's still alive. So she is most definitely not the daughter of a magician. You can see it actually on her face, which she would have said if she wasn't talking to Penn and Teller on TV in this country was, I've been doing magic 20 years. I'm not a daughter of a magician at this stage. I think at a certain point you get to be a magician. You know, she was a full-time pro when I knew her when we were in our 20s. You know, she was so she's certainly a legacy. She's been raised as the daughter of a magician, but she was working as a magician full-time as I know it from her late teens, you know.
That's right. I mean, like when Lance Burton married Melinda, I never referred to Melinda as the wife of Lance Burton. She was Melinda, the magician.
Right.
And she wasn't half the magician that Alexandra
Oh,
is.
That's true.
I'm not,
No
I'm
doubt.
not to be critical, but you know, Melinda, look, to be a showgirl is a very honorable profession, and I believe that was the core trade of Melinda, right? But Alexandra is a dang magician, full time. All right.
But I'll tell you, the good news is that in the past 2 or 3 years, girls are coming up to us all the time after the show and showing us card tricks and stuff. So that will not be that way for long. Women are going to take over this like they've taken over everything else, happily. And your style is just fabulous. So much charm, so much class, just wonderful. And you know, we went a long time thinking about what you did, a long time. And we thought that if you maybe had the cards rounded in the corners that you might be able to, but then after Teller drew about 20 sketches and after we talked back and forth, we looked at each other
But it's
and
super
it dawned on us that we had one question to ask you and one question only after all this time you've been waiting. How do you say you fooled us in French? The answer to that question. How do you say you fooled us in French? How do you say it?
now, did they really did she fool Penn and Teller? Come
bet
on.
she
No, no. Here's the thing. We need to watch this next clip because the thing that happened is that they determined that she did not fool them. And then they went and talked to her. Teller went and talked to her and asked what she really did. They compared notes and you went, oh, I guess you did fool us. And this next clip sort of spells all that out. It's really interesting.
Oh, all right.
But you know, just real quick, while it's still so fresh in our mind, did y'all notice just watching Alexandra work with that moment? We've seen so many magicians, I've heard so many horror stories about magicians who literally don't understand that they're on a TV show about fooling Penn and Teller. And they literally don't know how to deal with that part of the TV show because they, you know, I was talking with when Greg Wilson was prepping his lecture for us, he had just come back from working for Penn and Teller and he was obsessed with fooling Penn and Teller. And, you know, hanging with Michael Close, who's a consultant on that show, and Johnny Thompson used to be a consultant on that show. You know, we spoke to them, you know, and it was obvious, but it was very clear for anyone producing that show. The idea isn't to fool Penn and Teller and get into a weird argument or debate with them. And just watching the way Alexandra was able to project so much communication while the camera was able to go to her and get a fascinating story without her ever getting involved in a conversation on stage like that. Now, of course, if this next clip shows another chunk where she does a lot of that, but I feel like she was playing that moment so beautifully. It's as educational as any other part of this. Yes, Steve.
I was going to say, I think there's room for another show where they show Penn and Teller a trick and then they tell them that they know how it's done and then they just argue.
Right, Penn and Teller.
Right.
Like, anger
Penn
up.
and Teller tell you to shut the hell up already.
Right. Right. Like,
that could be fun.
Like the goal isn't to have a great TV spot. The goal is to get into an argument with America's most beloved magical entertainers.
Yeah. And one person who never speaks. Get in an argument with one person who never speaks.
Then it's like the Osbournes or the Apprentice, right? That works. That's what you want.
It's $1 million idea. TV. Penn and Teller, call us. We got this.
Penn and Teller, you know, I fooled you, you know, so there, you know, doesn't
my dad could beat up your dad.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to take my deck and go home. All right. So let's watch this other clip and then we can go further.
Hi, I'm Penn Gilles, partner Teller. We're up here on the roof of the Rio, about to go down and start our second annual April Fool Us Day special. And what better place to celebrate April Fools than a city like this, where guys like us are paid to fool people like you. Come on, Teller, let's get to work.
Oh, well.
So how do we know whether we figured out the magic behind the magic? In the end, we and the magicians have to come to an agreement that we know, that they know, that we know how they did the trick, or that they fooled us. And backstage, we have some of the greatest minds in magic working as judges to keep us all honest. But every once in a blue moon, we find ourselves in uncharted territory. Take the case of the fabulous French magician, Alexandre Duvivier.
Now, the French shopping bag. Ooh, beautiful. Okay. Please, Pen, can you put both of your hands inside and check nothing inside? Of course, there is nothing inside. Just for you to be sure. This card's a mess, okay? You know what? Let's put them aside. Shuffle cards. Face up, face down. Let's try. Because I don't know if you knew that, but now cards are inside of the bag and I can't see anything, like if I am blind.
Most card magicians need to see what they're doing. So for Alexandra to be able to do the dirty work just by touch was pretty remarkable.
But let's see something now. Like I told you earlier, I snapped my fingers. All the cards came back in the same direction, except for 5 cards. Watch out, watch out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let me show you that more precisely. All the cards came back in the same direction completely, except for 5 cards. Pen, can you read out loud those 5 cards, please?
7 of clubs. 3 of spades. 2 of diamonds. Jack of clubs. Queen of hearts.
Thank you so much.
Adam is on mute.
I was saying, yeah, we got to see it again.
Thank you very much.
Well, about that uncharted territory, we're going to give you a peek behind the foolish curtain. What you're about to see has never been shown before. This is part of what we originally said to Alexandra after her trick, which involved me speaking another one of our stupid, weird codes. I know you're from France, but you should, you should move, should consider moving to Vegas, because we have people in all walks of life here. We have magicians, we have all sorts of show folk. We have strippers, lots of strippers. We have servers, we have people who drive cars, we have people that phlebotomists, we have policemen, we have firefighters. It's a whole town like this.
Really?
And somewhere in that list might be a hint of what we're thinking about here. Now, we weren't entirely wrong, but we weren't really right enough. Because I'm a big guy and I've got a big voice, sometimes I win arguments that I shouldn't win.
Did they figure it out, we or no?
Oui.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That was so entertaining. Alexandra Duvivier!
Right.
Alex,
The answer was no. But
Right.
what a pro.
Totally.
You could see that she knew they had half of it, right?
Well,
But
she
only
got what you
half.
were talking about before. Like folks going on there going in with the attitude of I need to fool Penn and Teller are missing the point. You're going to be on a national, international television show telling the world that you are a magician. That's the point. She knows that that's the point.
And in Teller are going to tell the world that you're a great magician.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you want to change that with you're a great magician who decided to look, this is the kinder, gentler, older Penn. He is really gone as close to 180 degrees in terms of changing his general demeanor.
Elder statesman.
He's really to be admired for so many things, but that for any of you, who ever got to spend time with him beforehand, the change is gigantic. Even so, as he says, as nicely as he can, I can be an assertive dude, and I tend to win arguments. And of course, he used to win arguments because he didn't allow arguments to happen otherwise. He and it wasn't like he's naturally physically imposing.
When you stand next to him, he is bigger than most of us.
But his attitude was remarkably intensely unrelenting. You know what I mean? It was he would. I remember sitting in. I'm sorry. I was sitting in his kitchen, and he went on I mentioned I like the Beatles, and he went into a thing about how Paul McCartney was a no talent and a druggie. And that was the argument. There was not going to be any he was for Lou Reed. He was a big Lou Reed fan, but Paul McCartney was a druggie and an idiot. And that was the argument, and I was like, and listen, I talk enough, but I wasn't going to get a chance. And so he was definitely alluding to that. She didn't go anywhere near. She went, yep, fine. Thank you. So gracious. I'm learning as much from her as anyone else here, and as much from her performance as from the magic.
Mm-hmm.
Alexandra walked off without a trophy because of a misunderstanding. Did something seem not right? But at the end of the day, the truth wins out. When Teller spoke to Alexandra after her performance and learned all the details, he came back and told me, I think we get that one wrong. So Teller and I decided to get her back on stage. The staff told her it was because of a technical problem, so she had no idea what was coming when we told her this. We went a long time thinking about what you did, a long time. And it dawned on us that we had one question to ask you. How do you say you fooled us in French? Answer that question. And that's how we can sleep at night. If you fooled us, you fooled
Is that the whole
us,
thing?
and you get a trophy to prove it. When we come back, Chris Hardwick is headed back here to our stage, and we're going to...
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
I've never seen that before.
It was a great clip, right?
Yeah.
And it's awesome. It just shows that they're humans and that they acknowledge when they have faults. And I think it goes back to what Aaron was saying about Penn acknowledging that he's a big guy and has a big voice, and that's why he wins arguments. It just speaks to they're older guys, they're totally self-aware, and they know that they're helping the next generation of magicians come up, and how wonderful.
You know what I think makes that show palatable is the fact that they don't sit there like, okay, come on, try to fool me. Like you can't fool, right? They're just open, and they're gracious.
And they get to the point, really to the point of what fooling a magician is, because there's this whole classification of tricks. I don't know if you've all ever seen these tricks. They're called impossible locations. That's the term for them. And they start like this. All right, you shuffle the cards. Okay, now cut some cards over to there. Okay, now pick up another packet off the table. Now shuffle that packet. Now go through the cards. Now look at one card. Now cut the cards. Now place the cards back. Now cut and then this is what the effect tends to look like. You pick them up and then you go. Doing my best Paul Wilson face. Was that it? So that's an impossible location. And almost always when you get to the end of it, you don't know how it worked. You don't know where the key card was. You don't know where the key card was, where it went, or how they got it there, when they got it there, or they lose you on the way. But as you can see, you don't care. You say, not only do I not know how it works, but furthermore, I don't care. Right?
Yeah.
And so what almost always happens when a person gets into a fisticuffs with Penn and Teller is that Penn and Teller say, oh, okay, you switched it. I understand that there was a switch. Incidentally, there's no switches anywhere near this trick. But either there's a little more to it, there better be, there's a little more to it, or that's half of it, or they didn't fool you, fooled them in another way, which supported that switch, for example, that they weren't thinking of. And so I think Penn and Teller are always kind of in this idea of that if they understand the concept, right? If they understand the basic principle that's making it work, right? Then they feel like they weren't fooled. And if they weren't fooled in the major way, in a way that is, now, of course, what's major, sometimes a convincer is major, right? Right. And sometimes it's just a convincer. So there's a judgment call there, right? In this case, when we talk about cards in bag, which incidentally was just re-released, right? In just the last couple days, it was re-released with Jerry's Nuggets cards. So you can get it with bicycles, and you can now get it with these ultra cool Jerry's Nuggets.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
Like I just happened to get a Jerry's Nuggets. You know, I didn't realize that the white sticker is your indication that the Jerry's Nuggets someone sent you as a gift were not necessarily ordinary Jerry's Nuggets. So these ones happen to be like burlesque Jerry's Nuggets that someone sent me.
Ooh, I like your code. I like
right?
your code word.
But I have to tell you that Jerry's Nuggets, you know, these are the cards we used to use as kids. Lee Asher and I used to go to UNLV, and Jerry's Nuggets, the originals, the OGs, they cost $1, and you could buy them at the gift shop of Jerry's Nuggets casino in North Las Vegas, which was the burlesque capital of the world, oddly enough. Right by the Palomino Club was Jerry's Nuggets, and we used to buy these cards and use them all the time. And you know, looking back on it, I see why they're so popular. They pop. They're cool. Right? You could design 1,000 decks of cards and people have and not end up with something that ends up being so iconic and wonderful. So I think it's fair to say that this particular method uses a deck of cards.
A special deck of cards?
Yes. And therefore you can buy that deck of cards as a bicycle, as a standard bicycle, 808 bicycle, or you can get it as Jerry's Nuggets. So I think it's fair to say you can't get this particular method for this trick. It takes a whole deck of cards, takes a special deck of cards, right? And you can't get that deck of cards any other way. There's no other special trick decks that let you get access to what's in that box. And what's in that box is widely usable. What, like Alex was saying, what makes this trick so wonderful is that it takes an old principle and gives it such a good reason to exist. This trick is so powerful, it really uses that principle in a way that no one ever conceived of. So it's a special deck, right? And it's now available again, but for the first time with the Jerry's Nuggets. It's still, I don't even know if we have a link to even share with it, Adam, do we?
No, I mean, it's in our store, but I'll try to drop a link in the description. Steve?
I was going to say, in watching this, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the effect called smartass. It's are you familiar with that? And that's like a real versatile trick. You know, you can do so many different things with it, with the principle of it. And then when I look at this, I think, man, there's so many things that you can do with this. The payoff can be so many different ways. You could pay off the aces, a prediction, a phone number, just about anything. And it's so powerful. You do it as a multi-selection payoff. It's just so powerful. I think this is great. I'm thinking about picking one of these up.
So, I mean, here's the thing. This trick, when I think of the best, there's aspects of Juan Tamariz and European card magic, right? That are involve everything from memorized decks to all kinds of really intense, difficult stuff. There's But the aspects of what we generally call Spanish card magic that are the most exciting, the ones that are we can all access, right? That we can all add to our magic without spending years learning any particular thing at all, right? Is the idea that the audience isn't just participating, but they are literally dictating the magic, right? So if I've got a trick where I'm going to pull 4 aces out of the deck, we all know that there's sleight of hand ways to do that, right? There's also trick deck ways to do that, right? But having an audience shuffle makes something stronger, obviously. But in this trick, they didn't just shuffle, right?
Mm-hmm.
The cards were thrown out to everybody present at the table, and everybody made a total, utter chaotic mess. The audience has a visual and sense memory of really confounding this deck of cards in such a way that nobody could know where anything is. Nobody could have any way of controlling anything. The audience has now, in a way we can't see on TV, they could give you their own bag. They could dump their purse out, right? And throw you an empty purse. Then mix up those cards, then stick them in the bag.
There's another thing there too, Aaron, that I didn't realize till this moment, was that bag plays an important role, because it's almost as if the cards are discarded, right? Everyone's throwing them around on the table, and it's like you're holding that bag up to collect the garbage, right? And it's in there and you just don't care. And I think that breaks it, right? At that point, it's like not a card trick anymore. It's like something different. It morphs at that moment. It's really powerful. All those elements are just so powerful.
So I can say, I know Adam's on mute, that this particular deck of cards, as a professional card magician, the principle involved, for any of the reasons that anyone used to be able to think of, I wouldn't need that deck of cards. This trick is easy to do. Anyone can do this trick. Anyone can do this trick, and the deck will feel, I believe, absolutely normal, so that these cards can legitimately be shuffled and held by anybody. Alex, that's totally true, right? There's not a single thing to perceive or notice. You can do your whole magic show. You can do your other tricks with these cards, right? You can have these cards selected individually. You can have them signed. I wouldn't want to necessarily do that. You can do all that stuff. Right?
When this thing originally came out, that was what it was for, was to use this deck as your normal deck of cards and have spectators shuffle, but you have complete control. Yes.
Right. So it's not like a trick deck that, you have to keep people away from. Quite the opposite. Adam?
I was curious, Alex, what other, so her approach was to have a prediction, and that prediction, she used a joke at the beginning, but then all that procedure happened and mixing in the bag. And then her prediction was right the second time under these impossible situations and conditions. So what other types of effects could you do with this prop besides cards and bag, Alex?
Well, you can have anything show up, right? So you can basically control, like, you want to have the deck shuffled and you can control a suit. You can do an ultimate, like, out of this world where you have red and black separated. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can control using this concept. So it's almost one of those things that's like limited by your imagination.
So just to be clear, right? The whole point is that the audience shuffles the deck in a very similar way, right? You can have as many people as you want to participate. You can have everyone get their hands dirty in an astonishing way where it's the kind of trick where you could do 3 sleight of hand tricks beforehand, then do this trick, and they would believe everything you did was magic, right? Because they got in there so much, right, that no one can convince them otherwise, right? It creates, so once they do all that shuffling, you can make them be reds and then blacks. You can separate the reds from the blacks instantly. You can make it face up and face down. You can do triumph, right? You can find a selected card. You could probably find a card. You imagine you pick a card, you put it back in, everyone mixes the cards up. Now the cards are completely segregated, magically reds and blacks, but the one black card in the red pile is the selection, right? You can instantly find a selection in the fastest way possible after the cards were mixed like that. You could have 4 aces or a royal flush. In this case, Alexandra chose to have 4 different completely random cards selected because I believe she made a decision that for this effect, it was the most believable and impossible, because she could have just as easily done that and had all the cards face up except for the 4 aces, right? But I believe she decided it would be more magical and less card sharky, right? Which is because that, if you start pulling out 4 aces, it feels like a skill trick, right? It's meant to. This is designed to be bleeding impossible, right? It's really not possible, no matter how much cover you have. You could do that trick with 3 spectators holding onto your elbows, right? So nothing gets in, nothing gets out. The reason a lot of those things don't happen in this video is because the primary thing is making sure it takes up the time, space, and shape that you need for the TV, right? 2 spectators on stage, TV cameras. Your magic show, you can involve 5 people. You can have 2 of them holding your hand, holding your arms to make sure nothing gets in and nothing gets out. You could take off your shirt if you have the kind of body that makes that, a positive thing for you. In my case, I always like to put more clothes.
Yeah, we all do.
You could also add that Darwin Ortiz thing. You have someone stand behind you and cover your eyes, so it seems even more impossible when you're doing all these things, to add another level, right? I love it. And that's just using the bag itself, that's Dominique's innovation to this trick. Originally, this thing was just the deck of cards, and there's things you can do without that aren't obviously not using that shuffle thing. I think that's the power of it. For me, that's what elevated it, was doing all that shuffling stuff. But just for regular card magic, there's a lot of things that can be done with this special thing.
An interesting point about the bag. I had a conversation. Man, I'm doing a lot of name dropping today. I just really want to say it's embarrassing and weird, but I want to give the credit. I had a conversation with Bill Kalush once, who actually was the one who released the Jerry's renewal project, right? And he was trying to turn me on to the work of Robert Houdin, another famous French magician, so famous, often considered the guy that gets credit for taking a magician out of Merlin's robes and putting him in a modern business suit. Of course, this is 100+ years ago. Robert, he was trying to turn me on to that. He loves French magic, right? The history of French magic. And he was really interested in this idea that the egg bag, right? Part of the story of the egg bag, and this trick too, notice how it looks like an egg bag. It's a black, simple black bag, piece of fabric, right? Well, now we've got a focus on green purchasing, right? Now plastic bags have been discovered to be terrible for the environment, and people are slowly being forced by law in this country, where they fight it, to use renewable cloth bags, right? But long before the advent of plastic, shopping bags were cloth. Shopping bags have always been cloth. You went to the market with a sack, you put your baguette and your stuff in the sack, and you toted it home. So that has carried through, and it sits in people's dreams. Food out of bags is a very old thing for people. They don't have to know about it. They don't have to think about it. They don't even have to. It explains why a trick like the egg bag is in part so powerful to people, for reasons they don't even understand, that we can't even consciously explain, right? It has to do with the memory of our species. So when we deal with a plastic or cloth bag, we're dealing with something that is a very, very, when you pull fruit out of a bag, when you put an egg into a bag and it vanishes, it all relates to stuff that is powerful to us. And in this trick, it's the same.
If you want to pick up cards and bag, if you're watching this on YouTube, just check the description down below. We'll put a link to the Jerry's Nuggets version in our Conjuror Community store, as well as the regular version that we sell. And of course, if you're a CC member, you should get in there and get it as well, because you'll get your CC cash on it. Yeah, man, I love this presentation, and there's a few standout Penn and Tellers every season, and I believe this was one of the top ones for all the reasons that we've talked about today. She really just handled that in every possible great way that she could. What a fantastic performance of cards and bag.
If you're going on Penn and Teller, watch everybody for research, but watch her for what to do. Watch Alexandra for how to play the show, because you're just not going to find a better example of how to talk to Penn and Teller on stage if you happen to be on Fool Us, right?
That's right. That's right. Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us today for our little afternoon astonishment. We hope you had fun. Take a moment, do us a favor, hit the like button on the video. That tells YouTube that we're doing a good job with these videos. And at Conjuror Community, we do live member jams and special lectures several times a week. And if you've never tried out a proper magic club, then there's a link in the description down below where you can learn more about why we are the best magic club in the world. And please subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell, and that way you'll be notified because you don't want to miss out on what's coming next. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Afternoon Astonishment.